On Thursday, July the 1st, 2021, at the Criminal Courts of Justice on Parkgate Street in Dublin, 11 o'clock in the morning, the Peoples Tribunal of Ireland will hold its first public hearing. High Court Judge Michael McGrath has been summoned to attend as the respondent. Hello again, friends. Well, the saga continues. We've reached a point now where the Irish authorities have repeatedly proven themselves to be absolutely and utterly without scruples and to have no respect for the law or the Constitution. So, this week we served this notice on 12 of those authorities. Formal notification of criminal activity and advisory of imminent proceedings. Now we're asking everyone please to make a copy of this document and please send it in to your TD and ask them what are they going to do about this situation. To all of the said Irish authorities by name and position. This notice is hereby served upon you as a citizen of this state and as a resident of the European Union, and in your official capacity as listed above, to alert you yet again that a series of criminal offences have been committed and continue to be committed by various named officers of the court in collaboration with other agents and affiliates of the state in context of the issues and matters laid out in the publications listed below, flyers attached, to include affidavits number 1 to 25 that have been lodged at the four courts before and since, and these are available to you on request from us or from the court service under the co-joined case record numbers JR 2017-798 and 2018-432, and I urge any and all members of the public to go in and do a High Court search and look for those documents so that you can see what's going on. You will probably, unfortunately, find that most of them have been secreted away, hidden or suppressed, and the only versions of events that you can get a hold of is what the court service and some of these corrupt judges have put in their place. If you want to see those documents, get back in touch with me and I will send them over to you directly. The proofs of the said criminal acts have been forwarded according to the requirements of law to all of the respective statutory authorities and oversight bodies in this state, including upon you as an elected official or office holder, but that no proper response or action has resulted other than lies, stonewalling, misdirection, obfuscation, deceits and cover-ups, and suppression of the truth and the facts by other devious and underhanded means, including via documentary frauds and counterfeits, by the alteration or disappearance of evidence, by persistent obstructions of our attempts to raise domestic and EU petitions, via fraudulent judgments and orders, by unlawful refusals to process valid applications to the courts while advancing illegitimate others, and the repeat failures and refusals of the authorities to abide by the rule of law. And then I list the two main publications that we're relying upon, folks, which I'll put up here to my left: Criminality in the Irish Courts and the Absence of the Rule of Law, and Indictment and Petition for a Public Inquiry into State-Sponsored Criminality in Ireland. In light of recent well-published attempts by one Michael McGrath, Judge of the High Court, to advance further criminal acts upon the Irish people and upon the courts, in open defiance of the law and the Constitution, in flagrant violation of Superior Court rules, and in breach of his solemn oath of office, sufficient to constitute undeniable offences as against justice, as listed on pages 13 to 15 in the Criminality book, and pages 37, 73 and 74 of the indictment booklet, we hereby place you personally and formally on notice of the following. And there are 5 things that we're placing these authorities on notice of. Number 1, our formal request for the impeachment of Michael McGrath and his immediate suspension from all judicial duties until such impeachment process has concluded. Now, this is the only formal method available to us to check errant or corrupt or criminal judges. But as you're aware, folks, the whole of the system shuts down to try and protect them instead of doing what they're supposed to do. Number 2, that the matters referring in this document constitute an ongoing conspiracy to cover up a murder, a solicitation to murder, of election fraud and multiple attempts to pervert justice. Why is that in this document? Because, well, first of all, it's the truth. There are murders involved in what's been going on here over the past few years. The authorities are implicit and they are complicit in the cover-ups at the very least. And I want to make it absolutely clear to everybody who gets this document, we are not fooling around. This is not a joke. If we can't get the Irish authorities to respond to allegations and proofs of murder and solicitation to murder and election fraud, then what's the point of having any authorities at all? Number 3, you are hereby reminded of your obligations under the Criminal Justice Act 2011. Why? Well, this is the law that obliges anybody who knows about particular offences to report them to the authorities. So what we're doing is we're telling all these authorities, you now know, because we've told you numerous times, many times, that these crimes are being committed. You have an obligation under the Criminal Justice Act 2011 to report these matters, and if you don't, you are committing a criminal offence, right? Number 4, that an Article 40.1 public hearing in this matter will be conducted by the Peoples Tribunal of Ireland on July the 1st, 2021 at the Criminal Courts of Justice in Dublin. Again, we're placing them openly on notice. We've already sent in a requisition notice demanding the use of one of the People's Courts for this facility, and we'll get into that in a little bit more detail in a moment. And finally, number 5, that we will be relying on this notice and all other relevant correspondence to name you as a party to proceedings in the event that this becomes necessary. Now, this has been served on the following authority figures this week. President Michael D. Higgins, Minister for Justice Heather Humphreys, the Garda Commissioner Drew Harris, the Chief Justice Frank Clark, in all of his statutory roles, including as Chair of the Judicial Conduct Committee and Chair of the Court Service Board. And reminding everyone again, guys, that the Judicial Conduct Committee, you remember this thing we've been waiting for over 25 years, some sort of committee that would look into allegations of corruption and improper conduct by judges. Right, that was set up a year ago next week, okay? I know this because I applied for a position on it myself, tongue-in-cheek, yeah? But it's been set up for over a year now, and they still haven't held their first inquiry or meeting, okay? And as I will make a prediction here, there won't be any such sitting until Chief Justice Frank Clark has stepped out of his role or resigned or retired, because he will be one of the first names on the list if it does come in, okay? Miss Justice Mary Irvine in her role as President of the High Court. Why? Well, because obviously she is technically Michael McGrath's boss, and she's completely ignoring all of our attempts to get her to do something about finding some honest judge up there. Maybe there isn't one, I don't know. But to find some honest judge to deal with our cases in the High Court. James Lawless TD in his role as Chair of the Joint Justice Committee. This is a Fianna Fáil TD. And Martin Brown TD from Sinn Féin in his role as chair of the Joint Petitions Committee. Why? Well, because we've contacted both of these committees. As a matter of fact, the indictment booklet was our formal petition. That was one of them, including the Criminality in the Irish Courts book in its previous format. We've served them on the government. There are rules and regulations and procedures to follow. And instead of following them, they send us back contrived letters that nobody will sign, claiming that they discussed the matter and voted it out, but there's no reference to it in any of their minutes of the meetings. Why? Why all the lies, guys? If we have proofs of criminal activity, why doesn't one of you pick up the reins and deal with it as you're supposed to do as elected officials? Leo Varadkar, TD, in his role as Taoiseach. Miss Sinead Gibney in her role as chair of the Irish Human Rights Commission. Why? Well, we wrote to Sinead Gibney. We also wrote to her predecessor, who held the role before her, advising them that we were nominating them as parties to our High Court cases. Well, you wouldn't believe it, guys, but the convoluted letter that we received back from them, which they sent to us by email, and we asked them, would you please now send us a hard copy of the letter properly signed. So they've sent us the hard copy of the letter. Is it properly signed? No. Yet again, it says on it, no signature due to COVID-19. This is ridiculous, guys. Pathetic, absurd, childish. They won't sign the letter. And I'm not even going to waste your time reading it out to you. The nonsense, the apologetics, and so on. Also, Micheál Martin, Fianna Fáil in his role as Taoiseach. Paul Gallagher in his role as the Attorney General. Now, again, we tried to contact the Attorney General and the Irish Human Rights Commission to make them parties to the cases up in the High Court. In other words, to sort of just force them into a situation where if they are sitting there listening to what this judge is doing and to what some of the DPP's agents have been doing and all of the lies from the court service and everything, that if they're physically in there, they cannot pretend that they can't see what's going on, and they would be duty-bound and obliged to act. In other words, turn the system in on itself. But again, Mr. Gallagher, for some reason, decided to stick his head in the sand. Now, we've previously had acknowledgements from his offices that they've received documents. They're usually just one-liners on very fancy paper telling us, yeah, we got your correspondence. Yeah, and what next, Paul? Huh? You're going to actually answer us? And then finally, Claire Loftus in her role as the Director of Public Prosecutions. And again, guys, you might say, well, what's the DPP doing involved in a judicial review case? And well, it's very simple, guys. It's not their job to be defending these rogue judges. That's what my judicial reviews are all about, basically, is about claiming that other judges, such as Sean O'Donovan in the Circuit Court, such as Aonis McCarthy, in the district court, and many, many others, that they are committing crimes. And we're not talking about erring in law now. We're not talking about genuine mistakes. We're not talking about misunderstandings of the legislation. We're talking about open and shut, black and white, criminal attempts to obstruct and pervert justice so as to protect other criminal miscreants in the pay of the state. So finally, guys, these are just some of the other outlets that have received a copy of this notification. As I say, here, duly stamped and signed, a copy of this notification has also gone to all sitting Irish TDs and senators, yet again. The Judicial Conduct Committee, the Garda Síochána Ombudsman Commission, and Judge Ellen Ring, who's supposed to be in charge of that outfit. The Judicial Council, that is all Irish judges. What you're probably saying, the Judicial, what do you mean? I thought the Judicial Council was a group set up to watch over the judges. That's exactly right. And it comprises all of the sitting judges in the country. And so out of that group, they've selected the Judicial Conduct Committee. And wouldn't you know it, for those of you that may not be aware, the Judicial Conduct Committee is 13 people. It comprises the 5 presidents of the domestic courts, plus 5 hand-picked lay people, mostly, and with respect to those of you that might be decent, honest people. But as you know yourselves, you're each embedded in an establishment body or a state-affiliated agency or whatever it may be. And then to top it up, the Judicial Council, that's all of the judges, voted in an extra 3 judges to be on that council. So now you have a council that has 8 judges, including the 5 presidents of the domestic courts, plus 3 judges who have been elected from the body of judges, the collective, and 2 out of those 3 are in the Black Book. So Foxes in charge of the hen house comes to mind yet again. And it might also interest people to know that even though that Judicial Council was officially set up on July the 1st last year, okay, they still haven't held a meeting, and I'm predicting that they're not going to hold any proper formative meeting that actually starts the procedure of looking into corrupt judges, not until Frank Clark has retired, resigned, or gotten out of the hot seat. Why? Because he's going to be one of the first people they're going to have to look at. So, we've also copied this into the Integrity Ireland Association, to the Peoples Tribunal of Ireland, of course, to Transparency International Ireland. Again, just to give you all a heads up, guys, this is the organisation that is pretty well respected worldwide as being a genuine outfit that is dedicated to ensuring transparency and justice and accountability and stuff like that. Unfortunately, when we went to them 2 or 3 years ago with all of our evidence of all of this shocking corruption and criminality going on up in the corridors of power, they inadvertently let it slip that there would be difficulty in them trying to do any sort of an investigation of the Irish authorities. Why? Because part of their operation is funded by the Irish Department of Justice. So, say no more, guys. That's what we're up against. We also sent a copy to the Greco Secretariat in Strasbourg in France. Now, this is the Group of States Against Corruption. That's what they call themselves. It's the French word, GRECO, the French acronym. Again, they are not apparently empowered to look into individual allegations of corruption. But we decided, well, it's time that you guys knew what's really going on in Ireland. I mean, all you guys are sitting up there pontificating about the rule of law and this, that and the other. We don't have it here in Ireland. We don't have the rule of law in Ireland. We've got a criminal cabal, a franchise, sitting up there pretending to orchestrate a justice system. But it's all to protect their own venal interests. And we've seen this time after time after time. I mean, look at this nonsense with the guards, for example, the Garda Commissioner making a big public hullabaloo about, oh, we're not sure now if it's against the law for people to be having a pint outside now that we've lifted some of these ridiculous restrictions. Oh, we better look into that because there's a conflict. What about the conflict when you've got these dirty, corrupt miscreants and moral deviants up there posing as judges and posing as senior court service staff, lying, forging documents, erasing evidence, etc., etc. Why doesn't someone look into that? Huh? That's why we have to have our People's Tribunal, because they're not going to do it for us, are they? And finally, we've also copied this to the International Association of Judges, who, if you look at their website, guys, it's very impressive. They're there to uphold the standards of the judiciary all around the world. And, of course, our guys are embedded in there as well. You know, you wonder, can people this intelligent, because clearly they're very intelligent, can they be that stupid that they don't know that the Irish judiciary, by and large, or at least those sections of the judiciary, which is over a third of them that we've had personal dealings with, are, in effect, a criminal organisation, you know, by their own definition. Anyway, guys, we'll wrap it up at that point here for today, reminding everyone, please turn up at the CCJ next Thursday. Don't worry about the possibility that we will be blocked or obstructed, because contingency plans are in place. But Justice Michael McGrath, Judge of the High Court, has been summoned to be there to defend his position against the allegations that he has treated us unfairly under Article 40.1, which is the article in the Constitution that declares that we are all equal before the law. Okay, now this could be the template that everybody in the country could use to defend themselves going into these dirty, corrupted courts. Okay, if the minute you start getting treated unequally under the law, you have a right to come to the People's Tribunal and ask them to initiate an inquiry, and the opposite party will be summoned to be there. And it'll always be in public, guys. The adjudicators have already been put in place, and they're all properly experienced and qualified people to do this sort of work. So let's just leave it at that for now, guys. If you get a copy of this document, I ask you, please, if you want to do your part, simple enough, just get a copy of the document. We'll put it up on our Facebook page and whatever, and on the website. Get a copy of the document and just email your TD and say, have you seen this? And just see what happens. Thanks again for listening, guys. Looking forward to seeing a good response up there at the CCJ next Thursday at 11 a.m.